think when we talk about a campus, we have cultural diversity, we have linguistic diversity, but how do we ensure that we have an approach that is equitable to those diversities that are reflected on the campus? And precisely this discussion with will trace those conversations with the experts, with their first-hand knowledge of the campuses, how they are implementing it. Let's hear the stories one by one. I want to start with you, Dr. Rana, Professor Dr. Rana. In your opinion, where do Indian higher education institutions most clearly fall short in translating excess into meaningful inclusion according to you?
Good evening to the delegates and the participants here. I would first like to thank Businessworld for giving me a warm invite as a panelist. Coming to my views on the role of the higher education, how they are looking at this perspective of inclusion and equity in the classrooms. Now see, we have to first understand that higher education institutions are imparting the teaching learning aspect, and it is a process, the pedagogical aspect that we say. That means processes and input. We are going into the transformation, the output, the outcome, and it has got a monitoring control system. The students, when they come into the higher education institutions, at the point of admission, there is definitely some consideration given to the inclusiveness at the admission process. But then, after that, the transformative aspect that has to be considered into this component is there is a lot of heterogeneity or diversity that you say. If I talk about academically, the intellectual evolution of each individual is diverse and different. Secondly, the social and economic diversity is there. There is geographical diversity or the regional diversity that we say. And all these things in the higher education institution needs to be taken into consideration. Wherein we look for the equity in the results analysis, it is all exclusive, it is not inclusive. We need to evolve over it. Though the National Education Policy 2020 is considering these aspects, that inclusiveness or the community or the outreach should be the part of curriculum, but yet it has to be evolved more. So for addressing this and giving equitable aspect, first is whatever you are delivering in the classrooms should look into the must-know analysis, should know and could know. When I use this nomenclature is, one is the academic pursuits that you all must do it as per the curriculum, must know. Should know is what leads to your holistic development, you add on through these value additions. Either you use by integrating the technology or you look for the skill components beyond the curriculum. But then could know comes in here through your empathy or your involvement as an individual. That's very important that we are looking for, addressing this in the classrooms, and it should become more inclusive. That is my take on to this at this point.
Dr. Ghosh, let me bring you in this conversation with your initial thoughts of, even when I was a student and we saw people from different backgrounds in the same classroom, but there was a broad brush. There's one standard, one size fits all approach. Are you looking at it from a closer lens? If you give me example of your institution, I'll have this question to all of you, but I want your individual example, that how are you trying to address this gap that is there?
So good afternoon everybody, good afternoon students, good afternoon my fellow panelists. Firstly, thank you Businessworld for inviting me over here. To address your question, I think this is primarily an institutional level question, and the remedies and the challenges has to be addressed in an institutional level. So at our institute, in NorthCap University, generally what we do is, in terms of the equity and the, the diversity, the gap, we started from the admission process itself. So there are diverse background of students comes to our university, and we try to include them in terms of giving them scholarships, giving them the pedagogy, the curriculum, which creates that kind of an environment by which they feel inclusive also. And when we are talking about equity, it's definitely a different ball game altogether, which I think we should definitely address it. As a business school, we should definitely address this, because diversity, equity and inclusion, all three put together, makes our student as an holistically developed person. So it has to be a very holistically developed person, because when a student pass out from a management school and he goes to a market or goes to a professional area, the entire scenario is completely different. So what generally we do, we generally teach case studies, a lot of simulations in our classroom. But when you actually go into the market or go into the professional space, it's a lot different than the way people work. It's a lot different the way people work. There are a lot of the people work against time, the people work against incentives and a lot of all that stuff. So I think that has to be addressed on an institutional level in business schools.
But still, I mean, you cited the example of how you supplement them with, scholarships to create at least, on them on the level playing field. At least those are the steps you're doing at your own institutional level, right?
Yeah, so that's very, very important that you, so not only about the scholarship or, the process in our, admission, but we also talk about how the pedagogy is also, we take different case studies from diverse locations, right? We call industry people also, and from different fields. We call industry people from different fields, because today MBA or a management, education has become very diverse. The way we teach in our classroom has to have some connect or a large amount of connect with the industry. See, I come from the industry. I have been in industry for about 20 years, then into academia for another 15, 20 years. So I can tell you that even if you're in the classroom, whatever you're learning as a framework, as a simulation, as a case study, when you go out and do a job, it will be completely different. So we need, as a management school, it is our responsibility that we equip our students into those kind of scenarios, those kind of environment where they feel more inclusive. Otherwise, they'll feel pretty much disconnect, when they actually get into a professional area.
Dr. Pandey, if you can give me some example from I.T.S, that has worked to address this issue that we're talking about. Anything to begin with, or some real story that is there.
Thank you. First of all, thanks to BW and BW team for inviting me and making me the part of this event. See, diversion, the inclusion and equity, these three terms if we use. Now, diversity thing, it's something which is a reality now. And especially with the infrastructure development, access to resources, the ease of movement from one place to other place. When we used to study around 30 years back, if I had to travel from Varanasi to Hyderabad, there was only one train and which used to take around 36 to 40 hours to reach. Now, so that was one of the limiting factors. Access to resources. I still remember when for the first time when I accessed the internet, there was NICNet connectivity. We used to have the telephones, and through telephones we used to access internet. And if in between some call comes, it used to disconnect immediately, and then it used to take about half an hour to reconnect. So now access to the infrastructure, again that internet, because it takes. Then the availability of resources in terms of what is happening in the rest of the world. So lots of things are happening. People are having taste of all these things. And now, I will not say problem, but the issue which is coming up is the diversity in terms of language and the reason. The global movement, global mobility of the learners. Because now if you go to Greater Noida or any other place in an institution, you will find the student is studying from India, various part of the country, and then people coming out from the other places too. So now, creating a platform or some mechanism where that communication, that dialogue takes place is, I think, the key to remove the barrier of language, number one. They connect among those learners, because once they connect among themselves, they start sharing something. They experiment what you were telling. I just experimented one thing. Recently, there was a trade fair in Pragati Maidan last month. So what we did, out of 280 students of MBA course, we took choice from the students, those who would like to visit this. Yeah, all the students, they expressed their interest that they want to visit this, Pragati Maidan. We told we will not give anything. There is no transportation from institution. Yes, of course, that entry fee, that entry tickets we will arrange, and rest of the things you have to take care of. Trust me, if a class is scheduled at 9:15 a.m., a student continue to come till 9:30, 9:45. But there at Pragati Maidan at 9:45 a.m., all 40 students and 3 faculty members are present. What assignment we gave? That you have to visit at least 10 stalls. You have to interview at least one person at each stall. That recording has to be there. You have to collect the information in what domain that company is operating into, what the products they are offering, what is the uniqueness of their product, and means information like this had to collect. And then they were given that task. After collecting this information, they had to prepare a report in 2 to 5 pages and a PPT of 5 to 7 slides. And each student had to give a presentation of 5 to 7 minutes before all the faculty and all the students, whether they went there or not. Trust me, the kind of info, the kind of commitment, the kind of passion, and the kind of presentation student prepared, probably we could not have taught them in 3 to 4 months' time. So creating a platform where these students and faculty get a platform to communicate, to interact with themselves, not only that, because toughest thing is, if their students are sitting in their group with their friends, it is not that difficult to communicate. But if we put them at some place where nobody is known to them, and then if we ask them to interact, probably that first step, going there and saying hello, it breaks lots of barriers and puts lots of confidence. So that confidence building measures are very important, and diversity is now reality. The inclusion is not the responsibility of HR, but it is the academic responsibility. And if these two things are channelized, aligned, then equity will be the outcome, and that's why we are looking.
I think one of the reasons why students really liked the Pragati Maidan thing and they were very keen is because I think also at institutions across what I have seen as an outsider is we are force feeding them, you know, कि भाई आपको आना ही आना है वरना आपको हम exam नहीं देने देंगे. They are compelled, you know. So I think somewhere we'll come to it later, but I think that approach is also at play at all institutions. There is a kind of it's like a punishment factor that is working, you know, for education. So force feeding them. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but I mean, but it is a fact, right?
Just if you give me a minute, that was the reason why we have seen that a student now, since many students are sitting, they just can ignore it. What we have seen that inside the classroom today, a student doesn't want to study the syllabus inside the class. Until unless a classroom is a happening place, engaging place, and he or she gets something which otherwise is not available in the syllabi, or he or she is not able to follow, it will be very difficult to bring a student inside the class. So what we have done, we have made mandatory that yes, of course, we have to complete the course in 45 hours. I personally interacted with all my faculty. How much time do we actually require to complete the syllabi? 30 hours, 32 hours. So I asked them, what do you do in 45 hours? Either you overstretch those things, or only God knows what happened.
Right.
What they did, now 30 hours has to be, the classes are to be adjusted in 30 hours, and in rest 15 hours, such kind of field works, the workshops, the training programs, the guest interaction, and this has yielded a result to us.
Right. I want to bring in Dr. Narula here. You know, I mean, we address the conversation around diversity. We talk about it in our forums, inside the campus also. But where is the line, the thin line between talking about it and actually addressing it? Do you think we are addressing it but not implementing it? Is that the case with the diversity and inclusion discussion?
Thank you so much for inviting Business World over here live, and thank you, very privileged to be with all the great panelists, all experts in this room, and of course, students from different B schools. Thank you so much. Very nice question, like you've asked it, and also the topic which has been given to the panel, which I feel DEI, but I also add J, justice. So that is DEI, J, which has become more prominent. Like, it is very at a nascent stage at present in Indian B schools or universities. That's why the discussion is happening, where in foreign countries, where I visited many places abroad, I've seen that the Wharton, Bentley, many more universities have DEI cells. They have many proper structure systems. But India is evolving. And the question which you have asked, it very nice. I'll try to answer to the best, is authentic inclusion. I'll use the word authentic inclusion, where I'll say that policies has to be there from the very beginning, input process to the output for every institution. And that is from admissions, when student enters, faculty is hired, how the faculty can be retained, good faculty. And that is a major challenge, which I'll say, which we are facing in Indian B schools. I'm consultant to more than 50 plus in NCR, in marketing area, in B schools, worked with many premier B schools. Presently, I'm professor of marketing at Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management. And our mission on which we are working, we are absolutely following that, on the Shastri Ji's principles. And that is what we say, that we develop value-based, we give value-based management education with technology-enabled aspects. And that is there. What we say, as you have asked it, what we communicate in our brochures, on our website, it is 100% authentic. I'm heading PR. I never write a single word which we cannot deliver, which we cannot give to students. I'm saying in a public platform with so much confidence. I remove that because I don't want to create gap 4 in service industry, and that is a communication gap. And when we say that, it starts from admission onwards. So here comes a thin line when, sir, you're asking it, that what you do in DEI, specifically, you have to bring that in brochures. You have to authentically bring inclusion, not through brochures, voices, communication. If you do, you say. If you can't, only specifically be authentic that what you are doing it in DEI. And we have started. Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management is actually started DEI. And it should be backed by budget allocation. Anything cannot happen without. And if you see and go and see the data, which is very less in Indian institutions, how many per annum the budget is being allocated by institutions on DEI? Many universities, I work with Premier, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs, not more than that. Those who have started per annum, I'm saying that. But if you compare with the other foreign universities, what are the DEI budgets? That is one, another aspect. Curriculum change, a lot more discussions happened in the morning. I was listening to that from the experts. Only few institutions, premier B schools, are able to bring experiential learning. As my few panelists very rightly said that, sir has said that recently, that students are only interested now in more of an experiential learning. Textbook days are gone. Textbook days are gone. Trainings are minimal. You have to bring more practical aspects in teaching. And learning by doing is the best. Herbert Simon long back said, learning by doing is the best way to learn. And in management education, learning by doing is the best technique. We at Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management are running 3 experiential programs. Number 1 is rural. Number 2 is international immersion. Number 3 is outbound leadership programs. And we are sending, rural has happened just now in trimester 1. Now immersion will come after trimester 3, and outbound will also come. So these 3 experiential learning programs, we are practicing it from long back, and through which the students are being taken to the rural areas, foreign universities, exchange programs. They are learning from international faculty, Tata's social immersion programs, where we are seeing that the leadership skills are developed and a care for the society is also very important. So social initiatives are very important to be taught in the B schools so that students are social sensitive. When they come out, they work for business, but business for the welfare of society. This is very important. Business versus society. And if you will not look in future, business versus society, you will see the situation what is happening in Delhi. And being so tough to, which you call it in certain months, to stay at Delhi. So business versus society is a very important parameter which students should understand. So this was which I want to bring. And finally, faculty accountability is very important. Faculty should be accountable how they are implementing DEI in the classrooms, across campuses, and student outcomes should also be valued, evaluated. Specifically, I'll use on DEI aspect. These are few of...
I think you've raised some really wonderful points there. And let me bring in Dr. Rana again. I want to touch upon slightly on the holistic way of addressing this question, which is also the availability of tech. All the students have access to tech. It does not differentiate wherever you come from. You can use ChatGPT, irrespective of where you come from. So in this kind of an environment, how do we make, I mean, is this discussion that concerning as it was before? Because there's already a tech platform giving them an equitable access. So how concerned should we be now that, they are from different backgrounds and all? We can start with, we can get views from everyone on this.
Yes. Now see, nowadays when we take the students' admission, especially in the higher education, initially the childhood used to be up to 14 years, and then we used to say they're adolescents. But now with the technology creeping into the education, it has shrunk to 9 because of overexposure in the real times. And secondly, in this, the student, when they come to the college, it is mobile first. The repercussions of it, the attention span is minimal. Something like reels, even the movies, you don't have patience. Rightly, my panelist said, they are not into the classrooms, they are engaged into the mobile or other technology. So now judicious use of the technology is very important. In diversity, be it economically or from the social, it has one major impact. It creates a intra-conflict in the minds of the students coming from diverse groups, as well as inter-conflict. See the problems, okay, the peer, I have a better technological assets, tools to myself, he doesn't have. Or if you're coming from the different backgrounds, the exposure to the technology and its usage, that creates a intra-conflict. Am I competent? I am not. Am I able to communicate better? They try to get into a shell then. I'll give a very particular example of this. One of the family migrated from UK because of the father's transfer back to India. Due to some family commitments, they had to move back to India. That student was only exposed to the English language, having an Western accent to communicate. The students in the class, they started having a, जैसे कहते हैं ना, मजाक बनाना बच्चे को. And gradually he withdrew from the communication because he was not able to communicate in Hindi. You said the diversity and the inclusions. And the parents having this concern, the teacher not being qualified well enough to appreciate, posed this problem to the parents. They went and consulted the doctor, tagged him as autistic, or having another probability of absence seizure. The entire route of that child's journey changed. But the problem lies in the inclusion, and like sir said, the faculty, you should appreciate, and they should be trained to appreciate the behavioristic aspect, the trauma aspect in the classrooms. And this can be done through the engagement of technology, like Atal and all these programs are there. Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya faculty development programs are being engaged, but they should be more on inclusions, appreciating the problems of the young, because now the adolescent age has extended, what I feel in the real-time experience. It doesn't end at the age of 18 years. It has gone up to the age of 25. That managing the emotional quotient, the social quotient needs to be appreciated. In fact, they are not yet mature enough to take such decisions. So this is the things where the technology and the diversity should be definitely a part. They are there, and we should be able to appreciate such aspects in it.
Dr. Ghosh, I want your views on equitable opportunities in the backdrop of access to tech. Where does it give it a new turn, this conversation? Does it get a new, what you call a new curve, hit a new curve altogether?
So see, there are different aspects to whatever we are discussing. So there are different pillars in an educational institutions. I will stick to only the School of Business, which I specializes in, not in other field.
Even there, I think it does have impact there as well, right?
See, the school of, the management school or the School of Business needs to be more diverse, more dynamic than the other school, probably. That's what my take is. Now, when we are talking about tech, so let me tell you that I've been teaching for last 15, 20 years. Students are very smart. Okay, they're nowadays, because of the technology, because of a lot of diversity in terms of the way they're getting into, I think they're pretty smart. Now the point is that when we are talking about adapting technology into a management school, is our faculty members equipped to handle that? Is our faculty member is ready to take that into their own stride and make it more inclusive? See, today when you teach, for example, take any subject, say I teach marketing subjects, right? Brand management subject. If I go to a class and if I talk about something which is already there in Google, why would a student will listen to you?
Because they're scared of punishment.
No, so if you are doing that, then you are not actually, imbibing that organic inclusion. Yeah, of course. So here the point is that the faculties nowadays, because of tech, which is available to the students and the faculty both, the faculties needs to work even harder nowadays. When they enter into a classroom, they need to really work very, very hard. They need to take out real case studies, which is probably not available on
it has made faculty level up to, go
is,
to another level actually,
it is completely right? Faculty who can make it an inclusive classroom. I don't buy that point wherein we say that, students, yes, experiential learning in a business school, if you are not into experiential learning, then what are you into? That my question is. You have to be in experiential learning. You have to send your student to industry visits. You have to send your students, you have to bring in industry people. So that, see, another point, the gap between the industry and academia is still there. For a business school, that gap has to be minimized to the maximum level, I feel, So we call industry people.
Why is the gap there? Just a small question. I mean, what do you feel?
So the gap, there are a lot of reason for this gap is because probably, this is from my experience, yes. I'm saying. So there is a reservation in terms of the management school saying that we will not, why should we go to the industry? Industry should come to us.
Okay.
That is one, way the management school look at it probably. And the other way is that there is a lot, the way we teach, as I said in earlier questions, that, we talk about frameworks, we talk about case studies, we talk about, let me give you, it's good, research is definitely important, but how many research papers are actually getting implemented into the industry? As I said in the beginning, I come from the industry. In advertising industry, media industry, if I have a problem, that needs to be solved in 3 months. I will not be able to, the industry will not be able to wait for 1.5 year to get a solution. So I think as an institution, management institution, from my institution in NorthCap, I will definitely take 2 steps ahead and invite the industry people to come forward. There are a lot of, advantage to that. There is a lot of, the inclusion will happen. We'll have a lot of advantage in terms of internship and placements, which is one of the biggest factor in terms of inclusion, equity. The students come from diverse backgrounds. So we equip them in our institution, that's perfectly all right. But when they go out and do a job professionally, that's very, very difficult for them. Unless and until we bring in the industry people, is going to be a little difficult. So that's my take, So faculty, the educational institutions, I think need to work much, much harder than what they used to do 5 years back. It's not about the students. Students are smart enough. I mean, I don't see there is any problem with the student. Students are very, very smart students nowadays. They are equipped with many things, and I have seen from my own experience, their students at times knows more than the professors. Because professors are already talking about the same old 10-year or 5-year-old examples in the management or branding classes. Yeah, so that's the point.
Dr. Pandey, you want to share your thoughts on this tech equity that is there, but at the same time, we are talking about, bridging that gap between different backgrounds and education.
See the digital divide, because there are things which are relative and the contextual. Once upon a time, the digital divide used to be the access of digital devices and digital resources to one part of the country and the other segment of the country which was deprived of it. But now digital divide is no more the availability, access or impact of any technology, because it is readily available to everyone. The technology is changing at very fast pace, that is truth. The massive adoption of technology is taking place, whether it is academia or industry, it is reality. Now what is happening, as Sir was mentioning, that students have access to resources. Gone are those days when, as a teacher, जब अगर मैं कुछ क्लास में कहता था तो वो ब्रह्मवाक्य होता था, बिकॉज जब हम पढ़ रहे थे तो हमें मॉरिस मैनो की बुक डिजिटल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स की चाहिए थी. मैं बनारस में नहीं मिला, BHU जैसी यूनिवर्सिटी होने के बाद भी बनारस में इट वाज नॉट अवेलेबल. आई केम टू लखनऊ, हजरतगंज, 2 very popular book shops. I could not get. I came to Delhi, and from Delhi I bought, and then. Now gone are those days. Now digital, that Maurice Mano, nobody talks about. Why? Because the way the contents and the expectation of industry from the students was something different during those days, and now this is something different. The question that you are asking, the gap between academia and industry, prominently it is due to trust deficit. As an academic institutions, probably many of, I'm not saying every institute, there are lots of very good institutions, and there you don't find any gap. But at most of the institution, UNESCO report says that 65% of academic institutions in higher education, they are outside metropolitan cities. And about 70% students who are enrolled in higher education, they are studying in all these institutions. And all these institutions are away from all those facilities of metropolitan cities. So those things are it. But when it comes, back to the question, the students have access to technology. If they have OpenAI on their mobile laptop, they will use it. But fundamental will remain always same. Now, I was reading 2-3 days before a news that an institution have asked the students to write your answer through ChatGPT, but along with the answer, you also give your prompt. Now, what is prompt? Any student who starts studying in computer science, or even for that matter management, and if he is involved into solving a problem, the first and foremost thing which is advised to him is to understand and write down the algorithm. The prompts are nothing but algorithms. Now, if algorithm is known, then translating into in any specific language or at any platform, it's just a matter of few days learning this thing. So now we are again coming back to the prompts. Prompts are nothing but the algorithms. Now these algorithms will give an opportunity, or maybe in time to come, the students, those who are using the prompts, may be able to redefining those prompts to create more innovative solutions for the problems asked in the question and in the classrooms. So technology is there now. As a faculty, I can't remain the same as I was 15 years back. If students are using technology, if they have all the avenues for the information what they require about the course, about the syllabi, now I as a faculty need to be smart enough to understand that what could be the better way to explain this or to make the students convince me that this could be done in a better way. Probably that will increase the interest of the students, they will come back to the classes. So technology is evolving, it will keep evolving, but all those evolution, if you look back in last 70 years how technology is evolved, 70 years back during early 60s, we used to have data, today also we are having data. What has changed? The way data used to be stored, the way data used to be accessed, the way data used to be, from flat files, now we have reached to big data. Network, from 5 computer network, now we are into massive IoT networks where billions of devices are connecting with each other, communicating with each other, producing humongous data of petabyte, gigabyte, yottabyte data. And now the problem is where to store this data. And at all, if you are able to store, how to process this. Now processing capabilities are diminished. So you need to find out some different AI-based algorithm. And before this panel, someone was mentioning that if we perform some operation through normal algorithm, it will consume X amount of energy. But if the same thing is asked through AI, the amount of energy required would be 10x. Now 10 times more energy you require. Now the moment you say energy, from where energy comes? It comes fossil fuel. If fossil fuels come, the carbon dioxide, the CO2 is going to be increased, added to environment, and then the biggest challenge will be in aligning with the SDG, which is again coming back to us. So now things are changing on a very faster pace. Technology is evolving, it will keep evolving. Students will have access to all these resources. Right. As a faculty, as an institution, we need to understand in the changing time what could be the best way to ensure that giving this freedom and autonomy of using technology, but is still making things happen.
Dr. Narula, your quick thoughts, and then I have my final question lined up. Right. On this availability of tech, which has created an level playing field for all kind of, diversities, cultural diversity, linguistic diversity. They have access to tech. So it's a level playing field out there. So in that context, where does this conversation about diversity, where does it lie now, in your opinion?
See, tech, you are very right, sir, like tech has brought level playing field. But what I feel is that critical thinking is gaining a lot more importance now because of tech. Because tech is giving everything. Students have to interpret. Students have to analyze, being humans. Because the next era which I am seeing, next 10 years, will be an era of combination of tech and human-centric aspects. So tech has brought level playing, but the fact is that we have to also, with diversity, we have to also bring inclusion. Inclusion, why I'm saying, because some student learns very faster. Some students learn slightly slower. So the faculty has to move with the slowest person in the class. That's what we have seen in 30 years. And with tech, you are getting everything. But fact is that how you can bring that slow learner to that level where the fast learner is able to take it very faster from the tech. So that aspect is a challenge for a faculty also. Being a faculty, absolutely, I'm an administrator from 10 years also, but fact is that being a faculty, what I feel is that to bring that student who is a slow learner equivalent to that of a fast learner being a main duty of a faculty, so that parity comes in learnings with the parity of technology. And if faculty is able to do this, then I'll say the actual equity and inclusion in the classroom has started by taking the whole class together for learning. That is what.
So my final question, we have 10 minutes, so we'll keep it to 3 minutes each at the most. This is slightly related, but very important question I need to ask you, because this is also something I really want an answer to. I've met students, and there are students in the room, and they know a lot of stuff, and they are in the classroom still learning it. What is the value add that campus is bringing to students these days, which they cannot get otherwise, minus the faculty? What is that value add that they're getting at the campus in today's times? I just want to understand from a larger point, which they cannot get otherwise.
Before Ruhail, I'd like to answer this. I would like to add on to what my panelists were discussing. I have a little difference of opinion in this. What happens is, all have been highlighting the B schools, and primarily in the NCR region or in the cities, but the scenario in the rural areas, because I belong to a very remote area from Kangra district. What is happening there, even the schools are closing, faculty is there is a government infrastructure, but the mindset of the people is, shehron mein achhi padhai ho rahi hai. The schools are closing down, the colleges are closing down. We are talking about so many things here with respect to the inclusion and the diversity. Nowhere are we touching on to the core problem, because India is not only belonging to the cities and the prime areas. Now coming to your point in terms of the value, see, values, what we are referring to is, first of all, we must be a good human being. And that is what I practice at my institution. I tell my faculty, my students, I address them as beta. I say, when you go into the transactional analysis, if I have to have the various aspects of the value imparting to you to evolve as a good human being, if I come and deal with you as an adult or address you as a beta, that means as a child, I'm giving you an opportunity to correct yourself, not dealing with you in the punitive way. No, you are an adult, I would like to take you to task, holding you accountable. Because sometimes what happens is, in terms of the value, you're not even knowing where you went wrong, because there is so much of diversity in the social background of the students or the areas from where they have come up. If you see the latest Instagram hot Nancy Tyagi, that girl coming from a very modest city in the UP and being a hot performer on the Insta and being an influencer now. Yes, that technology integration has come into some components. Students have become followers of these influencers and getting influenced there. So value addition through various activities, engaging them through experiences into the community outreaches, sensitizing them, okay, go to the old age home, go to the orphanage, get exposed to the realities. Now a student, probably, I belong to a uniform background, you may not even say, Kargil is a very, very easy word to say, Kargil Divas celebrate karna. But today also, if I have to talk about it, that value system which the uniform brought into us as a family member, it creates that pain, because a lady who's with you today, young, married, the next moment she is a widow. The child says, I'm celebrating, my father is coming for my birthday. The coffin comes in wrapped in the tricolor. See, that value systems has to be brought to the institutions where they can appreciate and connect to these feelings. Because you are first a human being. You may be well versed with technology, you may be academically very sound to make you successful. But to be a satisfied human being, these are the value systems which comes from the culture, the background, connected to the roots. That's very important. Appreciate it. A student may not be able to express in an excellent dress code. I have done this in my econometric class. 2 students, I gave an econometric problem and they were very well doing it on their notebooks. I asked one student, beta, why are you not able to do it? He says, ma'am, मुझे English समझ में नहीं आई, आपने जो problem दिया. मैंने कहा, अगर मैं आपको इसको हिंदी में बताऊं, आप कर लोगे? Moment I told him in Hindi, before the entire class could solve, he gave me the answer. I said, okay, this is how you change. That is where the language importance is now coming into the education, to the policy makings, but this components of value addition as teachers or as people who are able to come into the strategic decision making, we must appreciate these problems because the students are coming from such diverse backgrounds. Kindly appreciate their problems. The family background, the conflicts in the family, that is why they are having these concerns. We need to appreciate those aspects and then impart the value education. See, values education is a very subjective terminology. That can only happen through engagements. When they work in teams, like Sir said, okay, experiential learning, role plays, when they do it. We are very late. Even in, if you see the primary schools in US, they are practicing this at the school level. At the kindergartens, they are practicing these role plays. They call it pretend learnings. They pretend. And they come up with the actual things what are happening. Now we are coming into it at the higher education levels.
Right.
But then, conflict management in terms of role plays is very important. Give the student the freedom to do it. Education, academic aspects is very important. I have no say on that, but definitely these subjective components, maybe by having your NCC, you see a child who wears a uniform, that confidence he gets, it starts reflecting in his code of conduct, his or her code of conduct. At the undergraduate level, I'm talking about, because we have at our institute almost 3,000 plus undergraduate students from different streams.
Right.
A student coming from the journalism school, we tell them the values to report ethically. So all these aspects are very important aspects of our teaching learning
Right.
to create satisfied human beings
Right.
through the value
I want to bring
components.
in my quickly, maybe we'll keep it, to 1 minute or so. So the question I want to reframe is that when a student has access to the subject already and he's already aware of it, and now he's coming in the classroom, he's sitting and hearing the same thing. So what is he getting out of that campus part now, which he's not getting otherwise? How are you addressing that bit? Yeah.
So see, if a student is already, now we expect, when in the management school, we already expect that student would know. So there are different ways we teach. So that it depends on what pedagogy we use. So for a management, MBA student, management students, we generally, the marketing management, most of the subjects, we generally start with case study teaching, okay? So we give them the case study, they read it and come back. So we start with a case study discussions, and then we take them into role playing, they take them into experiential learning. Then we take them into different aspects of that particular subject or that particular case study which leads to a particular topic of a subject. So when we systematically do this, keeping in mind that is going to give us that inclusiveness in a classroom, and also the student will be more participative because they are learning something new. Okay, so that is something, that is a value add which I think each B school has its own credentials in that. Depends on what is the kind of faculty you have, what kind of case studies we discussed, at what level of case studies we discuss and all that. So that one part is definitely there. Another part, as I agree with ma'am, that irrespective of the stream, you need to be a good human being. There is no two ways about it. Unless and until you are a good human being, you won't be able to grow in life. That's given. The main factor over here comes is that how overall development, what is your overall development? Are you only know about your management subjects, or you can also implement it into different environment and different atmosphere? So that is again, as I said, a part of the institutional responsibility which we do. Because as a business school, I feel that it's not only, again, I'll go back to the same thing about industry and academia. It's our responsibility also. I feel business school, ethical responsibility that we grow an industry. Right, so it is not only about the industry responsibility to grow, it is a business school's ethical responsibility to grow as well. So towards that we definitely need to work out. So there are a lot of value adds we can do like this.
Dr. Pandey, 2 minutes. I want to learn what are the real practical pain points on the campus today, the higher education, what really between the students and what they're being taught, what are the real pain points, the big gaps there?
See, as an academic institution, there are different types of institutions. The main pain point lies with the institution, those which are affiliated to some university. Now the problem is, now in 2025, I'm teaching .NET framework to a student without having a lab component. This is what's prescribed by the university. Now, what is happening that I'm not blaming to any university or institution, means they might have their own justified reasons, but what is happening today as an affiliated institute, you are given a set of subjects to teach. The subjects where the practical aspects should have been included, these are missing. Now you have to complement it. Now when it becomes to complement, what options do we have? What ma'am said, nobody will have any different opinion that value is something which should be implicit in the process, but then when it comes to value in terms of education, and education that to skill rather. When it comes to a skill, now a subject like AI is introduced. Who will teach? A subject like blockchain technology is introduced. Who is going to teach? A subject like big data is introduced. Irony to this, at one of the places I went for conducting Viva Voce for PG program, the faculty who was teaching DBMS, he was asked to teach data warehouse and data mining because the word data was common. And people had opinion that if somebody is teaching databases, by some effort he can also teach data warehousing and data mining. Now, the biggest pain point is to cope up with the requirement, with the changes happening in industry, because in our setup, in our institution, first industry uses something, and then we start following it, rather than at other places where research takes place inside the academic institution, and then it percolates to the industry. So that is probably the biggest thing, and that brings the main the issue for an academic institution. Because of that, that trust does not establishes.
Right.
And due to that, that academic institution, they have their own processes, their own systems. Industry has its own system, and neither industry wants to come to the institute because they have that frame of mind that going to the institution is wasting of time. Likewise, academic institution, they will talk something which can't be done at the academic institution. Now things are happening, lots of collaboration taking place, policies have been framed, but how much those policies are implemented on ground? The institution, those who would be able to translate those policies into reality will exist, the rest will cease.
Right. Great. Dr. Narula, you know, recently a big, what do you call it, a startup person, very successful, he has a podcast, and he said on his podcast that education, college education, higher education is a waste of time. Now students are exposed to these conversations and then they come to the classroom. I mean, how can we, I mean, convince them, look, you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing. How do we even address these problems?
Very nice. See, I'll say that management education is an evergreen. Technologies will come, keeps on changing over a period of time, and management education will always exist. But the mindset has changed post-COVID, absolutely. What was management education prior to COVID and after post-COVID is total experiential and practical. And Gen Z is very wise. Gen Z will decide where to go, which institutions to prefer. And as Sir said, very rightly said, that those who will not innovate over a period of time, institutions will cease to exist. That is I'm saying from here. And the fact is that you have to bring the latest curriculums which industry wants. And it should be a reverse process. We are doing it, sir. At Lal Bahadur Shastri, our curriculum is designed by industry people, vetted with our area chairs. and after that it is implemented in the class. A blockchain has to be taught, industry people will come who has given suggestions, and our faculty who is a blockchain expert which we have hired, he will work and deliver lectures in coordination with industry person. That is how the classroom is being engaged in coexisting, which we call it, with academia and industry. And students are getting practical aspects. So whoever startup is saying, I know that many podcasts I made it, and I don't want to take the name of that who has said, but the fact is that management education will always remain. But the fact is that we have to go as per what our Gen Z wants today, and we have to move in marketing. We say customer has become a super king. It is not a king, it is a super king nowadays. And they will choose those institutions where they will find value addition, because they're paying. They are paying. So they'll choose those institutions, and those who can add value to their careers and can get good placements or good knowledge to implement at a later part of their life. So they're coming for some skill enhancement. So if any institution wants to enhance their skill in a best possible manner, they will go there.
I think we've touched upon some important aspects of it, from the industry, academia gap, to sensitizing even the faculty. You can say this.
To your last question, I would advise students not to watch such podcasts.
And unfortunately, what has happened, they will say the counterpoint is that all the big guys from Mark Zuckerberg to everybody else is a dropout, and they are making big things. And the larger pain point in the, like we say when we on different forums, is that India has not built a product. We don't have a single product that is global. Give us one example. Why is it so? So it comes down to the campus thought mindset. I think, but this is an important discussion. I think we raised some important topics, and there's so much to talk. And I look forward that next time we again have the same panel and we again debate this. I thank you all for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you.